often do you have dreams about men kissing?
Shut up.
Never dream about my heroes kissing other men.
Man, stop. This whole conversation is making me uncomfortable.
I dreamt about Muhammad Ali just last night, but he was fighting Joe Frazier, not kissing him.
Gay ass nigga. Shut up, shut up, shut up. Oh, I ain't listening to you.
It's about the love change. Do it with some soul and a little love change. Yeah, it's about the love change. Do it with some soul and a little love change. You can't make a change unless you got the love change. Do it with some soul and a little love change. You can't make a change unless you got some love change. Do it with some soul and a little love change. We started from the bottom, talking about the roots. Every time I'm in the booth, I gotta shoot.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Boondocks Podcast. Today we're doing Season 2, Episode 13, The Story of Gangstalicious Part 2, in which Gangstalicious is back with a new hit song, a new clothing line, but the same old secret. Gayness ensues.
Gayness ensues.
To the homie. To the homie. That actually slaps.
I mean, the dance is, it's a little gay, but
so much so. If I walked into a club and there was a bunch of dudes,
hey,
doing that part.
nothing wrong with that. I will enjoy watching you. Go for it. Have fun.
But what would be funny is when they're so oblivious to it. Like y'all don't realize, like you guys don't realize. Okay, all right, that's what we're gonna do here today. Cool.
Well, it's pretty much just like in the show that we're about to talk about. How in the video, like people are watching it and not seeing everything they could be seeing.
Yeah.
But before we get to that,
That's gonna be in my head the rest of the night now.
how are you guys? I missed you last week.
Yes. You made a couple of appearances. You just, behind.
I got home as you guys were recording from sitting in the sunlight and drinking margaritas with my two oldest friends.
Yeah,
and that was wonderful.
Yes, I bet. I saw when she came in. I was like, she had a good old time. And then Dean said something about margaritas. I was like, yes, bet. Yep, that's it. That's that glow and that smile that I recognized.
I was happy.
Good. No, we had a good week. A good recording last week. Thank you once again to the homie Damon. And thank you to those of the Freedom Train. We appreciate you riding with us.
Right. I haven't got a chance to listen to the whole thing, but the bits that I've heard just crack me up.
My 12-year-old was so. He was just like, you act like he was there. He was just offended by it. Somebody called Freedom Train. So funny. I was like, son, listen to it in its entirety. That's one episode you can't listen to. Yeah. So it was, it was good times, and we appreciate you taking me time so that you can come back this week, and we, all good. We all need it sometimes.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we were good.
Luckily, the temperature is not the ass crack of hell anymore here, and so we are able to be in this room without dying, which is a thing that probably would have happened yesterday if we tried to do this.
And we would like for you to not pass out mid-show. Yeah,
that's helpful,
Yeah, so I take it we should never invite you down to California during the summer months.
Dean, I can't even talk him to go down to California when it's not the summer months. Like, I'm hoping I can talk him into, because you guys are farther north than where he lived, but he hates California so much. Like, I'm going down there actually at the end of summer. I'm going down to Venice Beach, right? Yeah. Venice Beach with my mom and one of my best friends and her mom. We're taking the train down because my mom hasn't been on a good train ride in decades, and we're going to go to California because I know Dean won't go there. So I'm hoping there will be a lot less fires this year because people are afraid of what happened last year, maybe, possibly, hopefully.
Well, yeah, and it's been so hot early this year, so I understand that. I'm a little concerned because we're only into just about to be July, and we've already had 10 days of 100-degree weather.
Thanks.
Since May? So, yeah. So that's why I don't live anywhere. I want to live away from people, but I don't want to live
like in the desert.
Yeah, or the forest, because that's where a lot of. I mean, Paradise was completely a like foresty kind of wooded, town, and it's gone. It's gone.
That's true.
So, yeah, I don't want to. Plus, and then that's where all the scary movies always end up happening. It's like, so several reasons, but.
I feel really torn about that because I would love to live out in the middle of nowhere, but also I don't want to live in the middle of nowhere. But being surrounded by trees would be amazing.
That's enough. That's places where people hide when they're trying to.
And then, someone will shoot off fireworks or light a campfire and then just not put it out. And then 500,000 acres are gone or whatever.
Yep. Including everything that I love. Yeah. So see, there's so many reasons to not. But yes, Miss Lindsay, how are you feeling this week?
I'm good, y'all.
You're all good?
Yeah.
Anything going on anyone wants to talk about?
Oh.
I mean, let's see. The government's still a piece of shit.
Oh, yeah.
You've got 8 stitches in your arms.
Oh, yeah. I got 8 stitches in my arms. My first stitches, actually, of my life that were not dental.
What happened?
Our dogs got into another fight, and I happened to be in between them when it happened.
What is wrong with them? What's going on?
It's the same dog. Something's going on, and he's just, I don't know. He's got massive anxiety, and something sets him off, and we can't figure it out. And so now, like, we have to keep them completely separated, and he's so fucking sad about it. Like, he didn't. Dogs don't do these things out of like maliciousness or anything. Like, yeah. And he feels so bad because Onyx is hurt and I'm hurt and he's fine, little shit. And, he can't, I won't let him near her. And she is afraid of him. And we're chalking it up to the heat because the heat was crazy. And when we went to the ER, they said they actually had a whole lot of animal bites coming in that day. I'm sure there were more of them throughout the weekend because that was just the first night when it was, 90 something degrees all day. And it didn't hit, it hit 100 in the late afternoon. And it was shortly after that Shadow just went crazy. So yeah, I got bit a couple times.
Oh, wow. Well, that's very eventful. Yeah.
Yeah. It's between that and the heat. I haven't gotten much packing done, and it's been very frustrating because, we're at a point where there is a giant room that I need to tackle, but I can't because we have to close off the areas of the house that we can actually get cool, and that is not part of it.
Yeah. Oh, I hate packing. Last time we packed and moved, we just were like, throw away some shit. Well, literally, we threw away so much, but it was good because we didn't know that the space we moved into had a lot less space, a lot less cabinets and stuff like that. So it was good. But, replacing our griddle, something that we don't even think about till I go to cook something that needs a griddle. Then I'm like, shit, that's right, we threw it away.
Yep.
Bookcases and shit like that. We got here and I was like, oh, that's right, I forgot. We have 7 boxes of books, but we threw away our bookcase. So,
oh man. Getting rid of books has been the hardest thing about this whole process for me. Pop.
She said,
speaking of pops.
Yeah.
We
we
actually know what our pops look like now. That's amazing. I already had one because Dennis Guggen made one for me and Dean for How Are You Now? But fuck, it's so cool to have one that actually looks like what I look like. Not in a fancy dress.
Great job. Jackson said, when are they going to be at, where are they going to be at Target? I was like, oh, you're so sweet. You're so sweet.
So actually, they are in the mail right now, coming to us. Yay. So I'll need to get you guys' addresses so I can send you yours. So,
oh my gosh, how cool! So shout out to him.
Yeah. Hell yeah,
amazing.
Dennis Guggen custom pop vinyls.
Yes, so neat. My son said, I want to know what they really look like. He wanted to compare our to the real pictures. Of course, what I look like. But he's like, yep, I see it. He thinks Lindsay, he thinks yours is just like, he's like, she kind of looks like a superhero with your blue eyes.
The blue eyes, right?
Yeah.
Big ass head. That's what got me.
Well, that's
about
what
it.
pops up.
I know, but mine just looks as extra big as it is.
You have hair. The
And
other
because I have
two,
a
like,
big ass head.
I mean,
No,
compared to mine and MJ's, like I have or MJ's got like a very short cropped style, and then I've got like half a head of hair, and you've got all of this hair. So that's why it looks bigger. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
Great gift idea too for you guys.
Yeah, if you want a custom pop for your sweetie or your best friend, or like.
Yeah, let me jump in here real quick, because Dennis makes lots of custom pop vinyls. He started doing it because Funko did not have rights to James Bond, and so he started making them for himself and for his friends who were big fans of James Bond, and then it just kind of went from there. And he's done Van Halen, he's done all these wrestlers. So many people. If you go check out his page on Facebook, because he's got so many, and I think now he's finally got the entire cast of Letterkenny. So and actually multiple versions because of different scenes from all of them. But yeah, he's a monster when it comes to those. And he wrote me to apologize for how long it was taking to make those.
Oh gosh, no apology needed.
Come on.
Yeah. Like that's a talent, especially if you're trying to actually, bring the essence of the person into it, not have it look kind of like, the individual. I think that's fantastic. Yeah, he may be getting a couple of requests, from me.
Fantastic.
Other podcasts, I know you guys are going to be jealous, so go ahead and hit him up, because I know you guys are going to want one. We have it, so no. No, but I think that's really cool. So that definitely is something that we had to talk about, something new for the week, something exciting. I got chills, I will say, when I opened the picture and really brought it all up. It was really cool to see.
All of them together.
Yeah. And I think that'd be so dope, like to send it to the powers that be and that are behind the Boondocks.
If you ever get a chance to meet him or something, be like, hey, look, how awesome is this?
Conversation, that pique the interest. Never know how the universe works.
When it reboots on and HBO Max next year, it's quite possible that could very well happen.
Yeah.
It will happen. We speak things into
right. We'll leave that up to you, MJ, because you speak to the universe better, because I have trouble thinking that anything is out there listening. I try really hard.
It's going to be crazy, but I really got this belief from Dogma, but it was probably not the best that when I really watched it.
Hey, Alanis Morissette is God. Fine by me. Yeah. Fine by me.
Awesome. But that's really what I learned about, like, you speak things into existence, you get an idea, you have to make it come true, or, manifest it. Because if not, it's going to be moved on and passed on to the next creative in the world. So I've always taken that. But the very first time, I think I told you guys that I watched Dogma, I was fresh off of a rave and just taking MDMA purely for the first time. So that could have had something to do with it. But I've always just kind of taken that. So that's what that's what I believe in. And it's come true for me in the past 10 years or so.
Awesome.
Just really speaking things into existence. So it can happen.
All right. We believe in your power.
Yes. And we also believe we will start talking about the episode. See? Here we go.
Well, I'm going to start talking about it right now if you want to.
See?
All right. So the story of Gangstalicious Part 2. So the episode begins with a disclaimer similar to Part 1. The following is a work of fiction. Any resemblance to actual gay-ass rappers is coincidental. Seriously, we're not talking about anybody at all. The rapper you think we're talking about, we're not talking about him. In fact, as far as we know, no rapper in the history of rap music has ever kissed another man or fondled another man's goodies. Dictated, not read, the management. So right off the bat, that's it's hilarious to me because I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. When this first came out, I had no idea that any, that was not on my radar about rappers. Because of the whole stereotype that they were seeing play out in this, like that idea that being gay is negative and so they won't show it. So at the time, I had no idea. But of course, now I can count off a couple off the top of my head because you've got Lil Nas X that we talked about earlier with his recent BET performance. Tyler, the Creator. Queen Latifah officially came out of the closet.
Did she?
Yep. She at the BET Awards, she shouted out her partner and their child.
Oh wow! I mean, I'm not surprised.
I've known for probably ever, but it was really cool to kind of see her go, I'm really fucking proud of this and I'm ready for people to understand that this is me. Because she notoriously never talks about.
Oh no, never.
Ever.
Never.
So,
really
and then
good.
Cardi B, who's, pansexual. I don't know if that's what she calls herself, but it seems like she's pretty okay with sleeping with whoever if she wants to. So more power to that.
And she's pregnant again. Congratulations.
Right. And I have to admit, she's kind of adorable when she's pregnant. I think it's really cool that at least me, someone who is not big into a lot of that music and the scene surrounding it, like I can name 4 off the top of my head. And that's pretty fucking cool, especially being a queer person who thought, well, rap music couldn't be for me because they absolutely don't like queer people. Like that was how it felt in the 80s and 90s. So
yeah. I think, so just like there was always like whispering and words going on and just comments going on and within the Black community. But like back in the day, we didn't have the internet.
Right.
So I don't know how, this information got spread, like my mom saying stuff. And I'm like, how did you know that? They didn't put that in Ebony. That's not a guess. Like, how do you know that? But so it was always something that, kind of went around. Eddie Murphy was, something. And
I remember my dad used to refer to and I didn't understand at the time what he was talking about, but like referring to somebody as being on the down low. And like, I think there was a movie or TV show or something where I eventually like found out what that meant and was like, my dad had very similar ideas about gay people as granddad. Mm-hmm. I grew up with other queer kids and my dad was not comfortable with me having male gay friends who would want to stay over because, movies would say that, he's pretending to be a gay guy to get the girl or whatever. So that was my dad's idea of, anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a lot of that generation or, I'm saying up until that's what, and probably even still a little bit of our generation now, but I tend to think it's very, there says a lot in psychology. And if you are really like, showcasing these feelings that just because somebody's gay, they want to get at you. Like, it's like, so what really is it? There's room for that questioning because I feel like in today's world, you shouldn't be bothered or care about what somebody does behind their bedroom door and who they do it with. That shouldn't affect you or change you or anything else. Like it shouldn't even be something that you think about on a daily basis. But, unfortunately it is. And some people like to blame other things for that reason. Like religion or whatever.
Well, and so many of the things, like my dad and I rarely discussed queer issues at all. I was out without being out to him. Like he didn't want to talk about it kind of thing. So we just didn't talk about it. And that was pretty true, all the way to the end. But, over the last few years, he was more open to having conversations and actually like learning about things. Mm-hmm. And I think what's interesting is, like I said, my dad was very much like granddad in this episode with how granddad reacts right off the beginning. If I had ever flat out said that I was gay to my dad, that could have been a huge, big deal. Like my mom always knew something. Like, she was surprised when I decided to marry a man. Like, there was no problem there. My dad, he didn't know that his best friend was gay. I knew. There was a reason why this very Catholic man got a divorce and stopped going to church. Like, it didn't just come out of the proverbial closet out of nowhere. But like that whole generation was so stunted because they had to hide it so hard that when they raised us, they made us believe that, you know, there was something wrong with us if we had feelings that were not, I don't want to use the word normal, but that would be the word that they would say.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Anyway. So once we have that disclaimer at the beginning, the plot basically starts off as a flashback, telling us what happened in part 1, where, like, you know, he got shot again, and then there was all of the stuff with getting held at gunpoint, stripped naked, and shot at, and, you know, all of those things. Then we see that the gang is watching MTV, and a new music video is introduced called Homies Over Hoes. The video focuses on the not very subtle homosexual imagery and themes. And, you know, this is something I said earlier, the not so subtleness of it, like the champagne bottle and and then everybody dancing with their mouths open while after it explodes. I was just like, really? That's like right out of the 80s. Like,
it was just so blatant. It was so blatant. Like, the moment that they had pushed out of the VIP, we're standing there like, what the hell is that? Like, nobody else sees what's going on right now. Like, yeah. That, especially with the champagne bottle, with him like biting his lip and just getting all sweaty and everything. Yeah, that shit was so. I felt like I was kind of watching a porn, like on, you know, on. It felt,
porn. It felt like it could have been like Red Shoe Diaries.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, not quite porn, but like maybe they actually filmed a porn, but they cut out the actual sex parts for the pay-per-view. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, it's just all left up to your interpretation, but it was. It led you definitely down a path. Right. You know, it's so funny because the guy that was supposed to be, you know, the BET or whatever, you know, the video host was Sway, and it's so funny that they were able to get, like, he was so excited about it, you know, and it's just like, how is no one picking up on all these just blatant, you know, little nuggets here and there, and so it makes you wonder if nobody pick up on it, or was everybody ignoring it because he was the biggest star, you know, in the world at that point, at least the biggest rap star.
That's a great question. So we'll talk about it in a minute when they go into like the 80s flashbacks. But like, I feel like there was so much in so much of entertainment in general. I feel like there was a lot of blatantly out, but still closeted. Like, Elton John wasn't technically out, I think, until like the 90s or maybe even later. You know, everybody knew. Come on now. Yeah. So just like things like that. Like but anyway, sorry. So Huey tries to point out to Riley that, you know, the imagery is gay, but Riley doesn't want to hear that because Gangstalicious can't be gay, because for Riley, gay is like the worst thing you could be. He refuses to be reminded about Gangstalicious being kissed by a man. Riley has convinced himself that the kiss that he saw was only a dream. And then, you know, we have the theme song. Then this is the part that I find hilarious, the one I want to talk about. Two rappers called MC Booty B and Homo D that appear in the segment I Love Gay Rappers. And they talk about how the world wasn't ready for an openly gay rapper when they came out in the 80s. And, you know, it's a parody of things like I Love the 80s or I Love whatever that they used to do all the time on MTV. Yeah. And just talking about things like doing ecstasy in the club and dancing all night and, you know, quote unquote doing gay shit. Like
their album covers were so fantastic.
Right.
Right.
And in real life, there was that shit all the time. Yeah. There was so much like representations of like S&M and bondage and like leather stuff. And like in the 80s and 90s, like it was everywhere, but it wasn't gay. It was just art.
Yeah. That's funny. Because I'm thinking back to like, and I'm not saying that any of these rappers were, but I'm thinking back to like stuff that like Houdini wore, and you know, and like Cameo, and you know, you definitely a lot of that stuff is not just. They didn't just like make that. Like they definitely had to go to a shop and get some of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for the dungeon. And not like, and I'm not saying anything. You know, and if they were fantastic, if they're not, you know, good. But when you say it like that, like it definitely makes me think, especially of the 80s, a lot of the costumes that the rappers wore would definitely be seen today, you know, in a dungeon type of BDSM type of situation. Like you said, a lot of the leather and the chokers. Yeah. You know, so I never thought of that before. I just got an image when you said that. I got an image. But very true. I mean, I think that's where that whole segment came from.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm sure. Like I know that I can't like you can think back to that time and recall a lot of that stuff. And for me, I'm like, I don't know who you're talking about, but that's cool. Like, but for me, I can go, well, you know, George Michael or something like that. Like it was so obvious to anybody who actually knew that, you know, basically if you understand and accept homosexuality and you see these things, you're like, oh, okay, whatever, he's gay. And then 20 years later, they come out of the closet and people are like, what? And you're like, I've known since I was 8.
Yeah. Like, you know, like the Brat, like you know, she came out saying that she was pretty much married, and it was like, okay.
Right.
Not a surprise. But yeah, no, you're right. That's definitely, I think, and it's going to happen where it's more and more often, but it's not going to be a surprise. You know what I'm saying? Like kids, you know, everybody's kind of coming out. And I don't even think there needs to be a coming out, because why does it matter? Nobody ever questions when somebody is straight. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody, so it shouldn't, I feel like it shouldn't matter. Hopefully we will get to that one day where, you know, a celebrity or somebody in the public eye, or, you know, where people may have that question, they don't have to, you know, go ahead and reveal that. The NFL player that just came out, like, you're not the only one. You're the first one that's admitted it, but you're not the only one.
He's the first one who was already established on a team when he came out.
Yeah. Okay.
It's Michael Sam.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. You're right. Yeah. But even I think even being in the league right now, there's tons of others.
Oh yeah. Like, there's no way. Statistically, there is no way. There aren't tons of gay sports stars and movie stars and you know, whatever. Like statistically, they are out there. There's no way to have that many people and not have a single one of them not be queer. And you know, they are choosing to enter into a career that you have to be highly closeted to be successful. And you mentioned the player that came out. I'm glad that it happened, that there has now been a first. But he only came out because he was essentially about to be outed because he was being a homophobic asshole to people. And he's a Trump supporter and like big money donor to Republican rights. Like, you know, one of those, one of those where you're almost like, of course you're gay. Like you've done all these things that are very anti-gay. So of course you're gay. So like, I don't know the whole story. I might be completely off, but that is how I understand the story at the moment.
Well, I think that, you know, I talk about the mumble rappers and this new, like, you know, sounding really old, like this, you know, racket that they make. But there are more of the rappers now that are not really coming out, but it's within their lyrics, or it's how they, you know, choose to dress, or their fashion, or, you know, they do something that traditionally is seen as, especially in the Black community, as gay. And they're doing it unapologetically.
And
So
it's the younger ones, right?
yeah, yeah, 'cause some of the younger ones, some I would say below 30 for sure.
Okay.
Well,
and the
you know,
reason
Young
why
Thug is one. You know, he says it. And he, you know, he rap with Lil Wayne. He compares himself to Lil Wayne, but he's somebody that it has said things and done things, and it's just yeah. And I just feel like it's more acceptable in that generation because they're really just looking at the art. But then you also are becoming not of an icon, but you're becoming an example to those who are in hip hop as well, but also, you know, experiencing and living the same life. So
and I think so. I had a conversation not that long ago with my stepdaughter, and I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it before, but it really sticks out to me because she basically, so she's 21, same age as, she's almost 22, same age as Lil Nas X. And I look at them and as a representation in my mind of a generation that is open, way more open than any generation before it. And when I was talking about this with her, she was like, "Oh yeah, everybody in my generation is at least a little bit gay." And I was like, you know, that actually, like, maybe one day we will get to the point. This is going back to what you were saying earlier. Maybe one day we'll get to a point where people aren't coming out as gay or bi or whatever. They're coming out as straight because it's okay to be queer, and it's so normalized that, you know, wanting to be in a straight monogamous relationship might be the thing that goes out of style someday, you know?
yeah. Or people just really living their life and doing it and out loud, or, you know, I don't want to say in quiet, but doing it to whatever level they feel comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, I could see that. So, and this episode was at 2004, 2005.
Yes.
So yeah, around that time. So what, it was 16 years ago. And it definitely was much different then. I mean, I think if it came out today, it would be very tongue in cheek and very funny for people. You know what I'm saying? Like, people would probably just be like, "Oh God, this, like, so what? We've had this song and this song, you know, this artist or whatever." But back then it was definitely
it was a big deal.
Yeah.
Because it, again, like, it's only been seen by the majority of the US population as an okay thing, being queer, being gay, being some part of the quilt bag or the alphabet mafia. Like, that's only really been normalized in the last 10, 15 years. And, you know, it started 40 years ago. It definitely, when all of, like, when Stonewall happened and everything around that, it was when queers were finally like, "Fuck you, we are done with being under your boot. Now we're going to fight back." And from there to now, we've gotten to a point where the kids of Stonewall have learned from their history instead of all those other people that haven't learned anything, and understand that there might not necessarily be such a thing as gender. There might not necessarily be such a thing as religion in their minds. You know, it could be that it just, you know, they embrace new ideas, and they are more willing to go to therapy and talk about their feelings. And there's just so many things that the younger, the kids nowadays, that they're experiencing and exposed to. And parents are more often than not these days, not saying that it doesn't happen, because it does, but more often than not accepting of their children when they are queer. And, you know, like, I grew up with somebody who was put in a mental hospital for coming out as trans when we were kids, who is now around 40 and finally starting to go into a transition phase, because it took that long for them to get over being internalizing how much their family hated the idea that they were queer. Actually, because I don't think that it was trans at the time. I think it was just coming out as gay when we were kids.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, back then, conversion therapy was the new thing. It was great. Let's do this. Whereas now it's illegal in most states. Unfortunately, it's not illegal everywhere yet. But
yeah. And you just mentioned Stonewall, and it is right now the kind of anniversary of when everything was kind of taking place.
Yep.
Started June 28th through July 3rd, if I'm not mistaken. But
yep, and that's why we have Pride in June every year.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And we're right, so it's kind of funny that we fell into this episode right in the month of Pride. So
right, it's kind of perfect.
Yeah. So it would be interesting for that to see this episode or an episode like this today when Pride is much more celebrated, and cities are having the events, and it's not such a smaller group of individuals that kind of get together now. They're huge celebrations and all in a lot of the major cities.
And being gay is not a slur, and it's looked down on if you use it as a slur.
Yeah. I mean, because I don't think, if I think back 15 years, 16 years, I don't think, and at least in Sacramento, I don't recall the Pride event being as big as what it is. I think everybody kind of went to like Frisco. So, but now you're seeing it being a celebration in a lot of major cities. So, it is a change, with that going on. And so it would, like I said, be interesting to see this episode happen today. Riley and Pops definitely represented the popular, I think, idea or mentality towards being gay then, especially within a rapper, because a rapper was supposed to be nothing but the epitome of of what it is to be a male. Especially somebody like that's saying Gangstalicious.
And masculinity is threatened by non-heteronormative love. I don't know. I can't think of it right. After the I Love Gay Rappers scene, Riley walks in with a box of clothes that was sent to him by Gangstalicious from his new line of clothing. Huey keeps asking Riley, like, why is this grown man sending you stuff? Why is this, why is he trying so hard to, get on your good side? Maybe it could be about, that thing he's keeping secret. And Riley's like, what, man? No way. That's not a thing. That's Gangstalicious isn't gay, man. That was a dream. Remember? I said it was a dream. And so here I'm literally like, is this I don't know if this is the conversation exactly, but in here there's a conversation where, oh no, it's a little later, but I have to say it. Because Riley calls everything gay. Everything. Anything that is not how he wants it is gay. And for him, that's like his go-to insult, period. Like that's his baseline that he'll go to. But because that's so ingrained in him that that's a negative thing, he can't even process the idea that this friend might be gay. And that's, I think that reaction coming from what we were just talking about how Riley and Granddad kind of have that mentality, like it makes me, I don't know, it makes me wonder why or how Riley got started on gay being the go-to bad for everything.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was just, I know for that time it wasn't as, I don't want to say taboo, but as defined as insulting, as like when we were growing up, like people just said it, like, oh, you're
like
gay.
that was funny or stupid or
yeah. And it never meant actually like, oh, okay, well, like the same sex, or
right.
It was more of like, oh, like you said, you're dumb, you're stupid or whatnot. So for Riley, it was definitely more that than it was actually being somebody who liked the person of the same sex, because you saw that he would say it and it would be more of like, in the way that he would use it, it was definitely more of an insult as far as like your intelligence.
Right.
But then when it became you may be homosexual because he's homosexual, then it was like, I'm going to cry. That was like the worst thing ever. So being able to decipher between the two or decide when you're insulted and when you're not, that's a lot for an 8-year-old, Yep. So I think he was just regurgitating what was, what the language and the slang per se that was, around him. And Huey, being who Huey is, being that he's just a little more rational and more mature, understands that your language says a lot about who you are and the words that you choose to use. So he just didn't because he understood the meaning behind it, really. Whereas,
and I love that Huey is basically just like question all through this episode. He's never the voice of reason, really. He's always just like kind of questioning, like, really, is this what you think? Okay, let's talk about that.
And using it though to his advantage because he really wanted to
right.
So.
All of it just comes down to just one basic argument, which is that, as you guys were just talking about, being gay is normal. It always has been normal. Japanese culture, samurais honored gay relationships between the samurai master and the apprentice. How many monarchs and kings of France and England were openly and proud of being gay? Roman aqueducts, they did the whole image of the bathhouse and being gay. If you are in Hollywood today, you are probably whatever you define yourself as, you are probably gay or whatever else for play, because that's how it works. We see rappers and everybody talking about this, especially like in the past years. I remember like Inspector Deck did like a whole interview about it. The Game was talking about it before. Like Birdman allegedly is gay. Lil Wayne, I shouldn't say gay. They have a spectrum of diversity and sexuality, allegedly. Lil Wayne, same. Like, it just is what it is. It's divide culture. That's why when we were young, like how Riley says everything is gay. When I was young, we said everything was gay, and unless your parents corrected you. It's just dumb shit, y'all. And like, I think that's really what this episode gets at. You know what I mean? It's like from the lyrics of the song to like at the end where they're like, oh, these pearls are hot. I'm not taking these pearls off. That people just buy into whatever pop culture sets as the norm and whatever you have to do to be accepted, and that gives people here down on the ground things to fight about and to judge each other about and separate shit about. Y'all, hello, no disrespect to Lindsey Graham, but did we not all spend last year talking about Lady Graham? Like the people with money and the people on top.
Lady G, right?
Lady G,
yeah.
They are not concerned about who is not gay. They're all fucking each other. And that's just my bottom line on a lot of this. That's it,
Yeah, I agree. That's kind of always been my feeling. Like even when I was a kid and people did use gay, well, in my area, it was definitely a slur. It was used as a way to put down somebody or to like get people to laugh at somebody else. And whether or not that was what their intention was, or that's just how it appeared to me, it always appeared to me that way. So I never got in the habit of it. So I don't know. It's one of those things that has bothered me for years. Like why was that word? Like, why did that become cool? Like why was that a slang word in anyone's vocabulary? Like we didn't go around using what is now derogatory words when I was a kid, and I know that sounds funny to say it that way, but it's true. Like the shit that we said when I was growing up, it feels so basic compared to the shit that they say now. Like
I feel like though it's that exact thing though, because being gay was what was selected as something to call people out about. Just like a lot of people don't think it's offensive to say, oh my God, she's so ghetto. I find that offensive. Shut the fuck up. What do you know about being ghetto? And there's nothing wrong with being ghetto. But back when I was growing up, like think about what was going on in the 80s. And you guys were a little older than me then, where gay people were being persecuted and accused of spreading AIDS. You were the group who was chosen at that time to be demonized. So that shit, it trickles on down. People, adults, the government, propaganda wants to point at gay people and say, oh my God, they're awful, they're evil. That spreads into pop culture, that spreads to kids. So being gay became like a slang word. And believe it or not, because we're all Black people, with the exception of you, Dean, on this podcast, like just because, like I said, I have had a lot of really white country kind of, from the grass fields of Kansas kind of friends. You don't think they sit around and say to each other, oh man, you can't do that. That's niggerish. They say it. They do it. You know what I mean? So it's just people picking any kind of group that they can demonize. You look like a tranny. You've never heard anyone say that kind of bullshit. People just grab onto anything hateful and hurtful and they throw it around at each other.
Yep.
And with AIDS in the 80s, they just, gay became
easy
like
to,
one of those
yeah.
big, yeah.
It was easy to have somebody to demonize. Next, Gangstalicious goes on Regis and Kathy Lee, which anybody who was not watching daytime television 15 years ago, Regis and Kathy Lee were like the biggest names, and everybody wanted to chat with them in daytime TV. It was,
which I don't understand because they're the whitest of white people,
right? And they're still,
like,
she's still on TV, and they're so boring.
It's so boring. Like if she sings one more song, please don't sing another song. Every night, like stop it. Yeah, but and so I didn't get it. Everybody, that was the show to watch. Like that was the one, and like that's where you went for the hottest news and on a celebrity or celebrity to do to promote.
There would be like a little bit of gossip, and then there'd be an interview, and sometimes they do a skit.
They did interview every hip hop artist the same way that they interviewed Gangstalicious. I loved his little fashion show that he had on there. That was, I mean, I don't know how nobody didn't know then. Yeah,
right. Okay. Like the pink fake bulletproof jacket, cool. Yeah, I've seen fake bulletproof stuff. That's totally a thing that did hit fashion a couple of times now, actually.
Yeah.
But the long shirt with the rectangle right above the butt crack so that you can grab your gun. Like, the whole reason to have it in your pants is so that it's hidden. It's not hidden if there's a window there.
yeah. And, like, the biggest bunch of bullshit ever. That is not why that is there. But, okay. Like,
After the Regis and Kathy Lee show, Riley goes over to Magnificent's place in his new Gangstalicious gear. And...
Yo, why didn't we think of that, man? Hey, we sound like a bunch of bitch niggas that need women in their lives or something, man.
What I'm saying, we call them bitches and hoes and shit. It ain't like we respecting them or nothing like that.
Damn.
So obviously they're talking about the new single from Gangstalicious. What is it? Homies Over Hoes. And so Riley reveals that he's actually friends with Gangstalicious and like calls him up and basically arranges it so that Magnificent, Phenomenal, and Mactastic, Jesus, I almost got it right. Mactastic would collaborate with him on a remix of this new song. While he's still on the phone, though, Gangstalicious starts questioning Riley on whether he's keeping the secret safe. Riley has no idea because he has convinced himself that he didn't actually see what he thought that he saw. So he doesn't know anything, and Gangstalicious thinks that he's covering for him. So they're good. Then Granddad sees Riley walking down the hall in Gangstalicious gear and is concerned. So once again, I just want to remind myself and everyone listening that we are talking about an 8-year-old child wearing this clothing. And the skirt is so far down on his hips that you can see the V, and that kind of bothered me a bit.
I don't want to see
that shit on a kid.
Yeah. That's not sexy when it's on a kid. Like, it's just not. Yeah, it takes away from it.
Yeah,
completely.
No.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
So Riley tells Granddad, no, it's not like that. Like, this is a wife beater, and this is a cool flap so you can hide stuff from the cops, and this is a man bag, and which, by the way, is a real thing. I used to sell them when I sold retail back in a million years ago. I would sell leather man bags, and rich men would come in and buy them. Never saw anybody but rich men buy them. But
yeah.
Meanwhile, Robert and Ruckus began to spy on Riley, concerned that he may be turning gay. Ruckus, of course, does not help things because he is very quick to just start, calling Riley, using derogatory terms towards Riley as if, he just because, he's walking a certain way or wearing certain clothes. Well, that's it. He's gay. Not the words that he used, of course, but I am violently against that word, just as much as I am the N-word. Like, it's a little different when we're talking about that on this show, but the one censored was that he said that Riley will grow up to be entered repeatedly by another man. That sounds so
it was so descriptive. It was just over.
Right.
Like, it was just.
You're talking about a fucking kid.
Yeah. Like, it was definitely Uncle Ruckus, but it was like, dude, bring it back a little bit. Like, it was representing what people think, or like how, people talk, like their worst fears, supposedly, or their concerns coming out in just like the worst descriptive way possible. And that's Uncle Ruckus for you.
Little fun fact, little trivia. This is the first episode where Uncle Ruckus does not exhibit self-hating racism. He does not. He does not say anything negative about the blackness of Riley, just about the gayness of Riley. So, right? I had to go back and make sure when like Dean wrote that out. I'm like,
picks and chooses. He shows some restraint, I guess you can say.
Sure. As he was yelling FAGGOT down the street.
But he didn't relay anything racial to it. So that was okay.
Right. So Granddad approaches Huey and Riley. Huey doesn't respond, which makes Granddad even more positive that Riley is gay. He mentions that he cannot have the boys sleeping in the same room anymore. Huey suggests that they should also have separate bathrooms. So the next scene is back to MC Booty B and Homo D, which I just love saying that, talking about how rap culture has become more gay due to the influence of prison culture, which is really, really gay. I always found that interesting that rap culture was very homophobic, but embraced something that essentially was a flag to other prisoners to say, I am here for you.
Yeah. And I think it was always kind of like we don't really believe in that because that's not something I do with every day. Like, you have to have somebody an uncle or somebody who came back and they're like, look, pull your pants up and I'm gonna tell you why. Like, that's really where you got like the real truth of it, is from somebody that have been like, that shit's not cute. Like, let me tell you right now what would happen if you went to jail. So that's why I think, if you ever had that story, or, not story, but if you ever had that truth provided to you, it was from somebody who had done some time. And then like those gentlemen, either they listened or they were like, fuck it, we're going to do what we want to do because it's fashionable. So yeah, it's once again choosing to ignore, something where it's kind of like, using the N-word. You can't really take the stigma out of that. So like, out of, what if you end up in jail and you like to wear your pants like that, what's going to happen to you? You can't.
You will find out really fast that you are, lunch meat.
Yeah.
Popular. That's a good word.
So, right. Yeah.
I don't know, y'all. I got to ride for my hood people, though. I'm never into the pants hanging off your ass, but it is a thing people do in the hood.
Oh, yeah.
And listen, I don't know about y'all, though, but when I grew up, like someone, maybe an auntie or somebody, gave me like a gold anklet. And my mom freaked the fuck out. And she would not allow us to wear anklets and chokers and things. And maybe this was just my mom being weird, but she said to her, it is similar to wearing chains. And she did not want her kids running around wearing
I could see that.
anklets or chokers. And hey, I mean, that probably is, like, I know like slave anklets are a thing, a specific fashion thing.
I was just going to say, I used to wear slave bracelets in the 90s because I had no fucking clue what, like I would wear that all the fucking time. I probably still have some.
But we do it. We wear it.
I didn't even think about that.
History.
That's pretty crazy. I know that my mom was like, don't wear certain ones on, and it was kind of like the whole earring thing. But like for her, she was like, you can't wear your anklet on a certain ankle because it like meant that you're a prostitute. I was like, what?
Oh yeah.
Like I was like, oh, okay. So then why'd you buy it for me? But it was, that's so many different beliefs and shit like that. But it was just something like in the hood, it became a thing. Like it just became a style. I mean, I look back at pictures of hubby now, and he's like, I would never wear my fucking pants that big again. He's like, what was I doing? I'm like, you was looking good, but yeah, he damn sure cannot. I would look at him crazy if he went to go try to buy a pant. He's a 34 at best, 36, and we would use the guy like 42s, like easily, just So yeah, I'd be considering,
Yeah. No, I totally get it. It's one of those things where it grew from a certain place, but it grew in a culture that would not be ready to acknowledge where it came from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I was going with that. Like they wouldn't embrace the idea that it essentially had homosexual meanings to it, because of, essentially where it originated and why and how. But they don't want to know that because it looks cool. So yeah. So MC, Booty B, and Homo D also start talking about ecstasy, which is a love drug that makes you want to suck on something. That was a conversation Dean and I were really talking about. Was like, back then, one of the things that in the show that they said was like, back then everybody was doing this and it wasn't seen as like a gay thing. It just was. They were also saying, at the same time, we were the first ones who actually like made a big deal about being out about it. And that wasn't okay. You could do the stuff, you could be out about it, just don't be vocally out about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
just keep it on the low.
Keep it on the down low, exactly. So Granddad decides that he's got to try and talk Riley into doing more manly things like football, hanging out with a cutie pie, which was Cindy. By the way, I don't put those two together. Like, she's such a fucking, no. And, it's because, Riley was folding the clothes and sewing something and doing his toenails. And then when Granddad's trying to talk him into going out, Riley finally's like, let's go shopping.
Yeah.
Obviously all things that are trying to tell us, to flag to us that Riley is picking up more and more gay attributes. Ruckus and Granddad are back spying on Riley. Granddad suggests about someone talking to Riley about sex to make him snap out of it. But Granddad at first does not want to do it. Finally, they hire a pimp named Slickback to give Riley a talk about the birds and the bees when Riley asks him about homies over hoes.
I don't think homies over hoes is a sentiment that a pimp named Slickback can co-sign, Riley. I mean, don't get me wrong. A pimp named Slickback will put a lot of things over a hoe. Money over a hoe? Always. Brand new gators over a hoe? Absolutely. A turkey sandwich with just tomato? Guaranteed. But homies? Oh no. A pimp named Slickback don't do shit for the homies. Let me reiterate. Don't do shit for the homies. Unless the homie want to walk that stroll and get that money, the homie ain't getting a goddamn thing. And the same goes for brothers, peeps, dudes, fellas, dunnies, comrades, whatever the fuck niggas is calling each other nowadays. Sound like some gay shit to me.
So very perfect. Everything that probably everybody was thinking this whole time about that song. Really? Why would you pick why? Like, I know there's a whole culture with women where it's, oh no, I can't even remember what the phrase is. Like, you've got the bros who are like bros before hoes, and then you've got
chicks before dicks.
Chicks before dicks works.
I mean, it was just perfect. Like, it was just like, hey, you couldn't put it any better. And if you wanted somebody to be like realer than rude, then a pimp named Slickback was the one who was going to do it. What's so funny is while we were sitting here watching it, hubby's like shaking his head when he's like, homies, friends, whatever, niggas is calling him. I'm not going out of my way and putting him over anything, so it was just the perfect way for Riley to go, oh, wait. Oh, okay. Then maybe what he's been saying is right. And it was just funny the way that it had to be explained to him for him to get it, because I believe he also looks at, a pimp named Slickback as probably one of the most macho men, or a man as, other than, everybody else that he kicks it with, all the other, losers and shit like that he kicks it with. He probably looks at him as someone that's like, okay, I can get real game from him because he's really a man, He's
got all them bitches and hoes working for him. He must be doing something right.
Yeah. So it was just, it was perfect. And Grandpa and Uncle Ruckus felt vindicated and felt like, all right, we did the right thing. One, Grandpa didn't want to have to do it, so he was so happy with anybody else that could do it. But I think that they did well.
Yet another example of Granddad doing a terrible job at parenting, but still somehow making it work.
Yep, making it work. So, yeah.
And I think the cool thing there is that as we have seen Slickback, a pimp named Slickback.
Right, say it together.
The whole thing.
Demean women in other episodes and put them down, and I've got bitches and this and this and that. He does say to Riley explicitly that, like, in his little rant, I didn't pull the clip, but he says, like, too, like, oh no, like, men can be hosts too. If he's working the stroll, it's all good.
Yep.
So, like, that was a really cool non-sexist moment coming from a pimp named Slickback. It's not that he sees, women as just bitches. He sees hoes of all genders as hoes. The end.
And if you're not a hoe, you're not working for him, so he doesn't have any responsibility to you either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just so funny, and telling how he's just the end was just like, sounds like some gay shit to me. Like at the end, let me leave you with that thought is pretty much what he did. So, that was my favorite part of the whole episode, to be honest. Like I said, just how honest he was, and didn't do it in a way I think that was too shocking, but just made Riley kind of at first like realize shit, and then of course he had a breakdown, of course, but.
Right.
A ridiculous one at that, but
Yeah, so Riley checks his MySpace and tells Huey that Gangstalicious has put him on the list for the show that evening. Huey, of course, finds this suspicious. Like, again, why don't the other adults in the room get uncomfortable with the fact that Riley is always hanging out with older men? Like, almost exclusively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's for Grandpa, it's like, out of my hair, kind of situation. But then also just doesn't think that anybody he's hanging out with is suspicious enough to then, be suspicious of. They're not doing anything that's pedophile-ish to say, or so he thinks. They get into trouble. They're they want to be gangsters. They are rappers. So he'd rather that be an issue than maybe he should be on To Catch a Predator. You know what I'm saying? Like, so.
For sure. Okay, then we have Tom talking to Granddad and trying to, help Robert understand that it doesn't have to be terrible if Riley is gay. Robert isn't sure what to do, but he decides he'll have to think about it, which is better than, sending Riley out to live in the garage or something like that, or not loving him anymore.
Yeah.
Then on another talk show, the truth is revealed when Jessica, quote unquote, Wonder Cheeks Ethelberg, a former rap music dancer, publishes a tell-all book that skirts any euphemism and says directly that Gangstalicious is hella gay. Riley, of course, total denial. So we watch a whole bunch of people reacting to it and like wearing the clothes from the clothing line and just like, oh my God, this guy's gay. And, Riley not gonna have it. She's got to be lying. So then Gangstalicious goes on the Fat Man radio program to tell his side of the story.
Well, first of all, I ain't even going to dignify the accusations with a response, because that's so ridiculous. I ain't got the answer to no bitch. See, this is exactly the kind of shit a scandalous hoe is good for. They known for. They notorious for snitching, Whether you snitch to the feds or you snitch to random house, snitching is snitching.
Snitching is snitching? What is she snitching about? You didn't actually deny anything. And in fact, in my opinion, confirmed it by calling her a snitch. So somebody didn't prep him for that interview. Like, I feel like in the real world, if something like that had come out, he would have gone on a radio show with like a pre-prepped statement, and like his manager or agent or somebody would be right there to like stop him from talking too much or answering the wrong question or whatever.
Yeah, they would have had questions that they weren't allowed to ask,
right?
Type of thing, and for sure, that definitely would have happened, especially nowadays, because they, I don't want to say run off at the mouth, but you guys definitely do more damage than than, any good that you think you may be doing in those situations.
I think they're trying to get into this thing too, and it's going to pop up again a little bit later. I think what he's hinting at, despite his denial, is that, okay, so he's gay, right? He's not openly denying it, but without saying it, he is saying, isn't it worse to be a snitch?
Yes.
Than to be gay? Like that's kind of the
what he's
subtle
trying
thing.
to,
breaking the fourth wall or whatever. Like that's kind of what he's saying, but it falls on deaf ears. Everyone just cares that he's gay.
Right. That's why, like, in my mind, like, I see, a publicist agent kind of situation or hell, a lawyer who'd be like, we're going to sue her for defamation or whatever. But instead, he just kind of is like, no, man, let's talk about this. Isn't this worse? Like, it's so bullshit.
I mean, he is right, though. It's worse to be a snitch. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being gay. There is something wrong with being a snitch, in my opinion. But there you have it.
So word is obviously out about Gangstalicious, and so the Lethal Introduction crew abandon their plan to work with him, which basically means that they ghost him when he shows up at their house. They hide, they silence their phone. They will not talk to him. They don't want to be seen as homos by association. However, they did, you were saying about the pearls. It was one of my favorite part is when, Mac Task, and he's like, oh, I like these pearls.
That's fire. I'm keeping that though.
Right? So, I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this. Whenever I hear things that remind me of things that are long forgotten, I look in Urban Dictionary because I'm sure there's something I've forgotten. And I was right. There is a sex act called pearl necklace, which I completely had forgotten about. Right. It's exactly, which fits into the gay iconography too. And the fact that it's men with the pearl necklace, like, one, please, I love seeing men challenge masculinity in any way, whether you are gay or straight. I do not think it's a problem. 15 years ago, I can see this being a whole thing. Now, that fashion line would have been that, like, Harry Styles would have been on the runway walking down with that shit on. He would have been so, like, it would have been art, and everybody would have been totally okay with it. But back then, it just wasn't the time. So Riley finally concedes that his favorite rapper might be gay. And then he's very concerned because earlier, when he found out that Elton John was gay, and, his brother listens to Elton John, oh, that means that his brother's gay. Okay. So does that mean that because he's friends with Gangstalicious and, like, his biggest fan, does that make him gay too? Huey agrees. Huey, this is definitely breaking the fourth wall. He basically looks at the camera and says, I know it's wrong, but I want my own room. So we find out that, like, Huey knows that all of this is bullshit, but he's like, I might get to not have him in my hair all the time if everybody thinks this.
He was okay with it. He was okay. He was like,
yeah, I will traumatize my little brother just so I can have my own room for a couple of years. Riley begins to cry, just sob about it. That was then Granddad comes in, and Riley's like, good luck. He's dealing with it. He's grappling with it. And they're crying in each other's arms. Granddad, I know, son, it's okay. Later, in front of Thugnificent's mansion, Gangstalicious is talking to his agent, telling him that he thinks his career might be over. At that point, Riley walks up and confronts him and asks him directly,
man, just tell the truth. You gay?
Will hip-hop ever accept an outwardly gay rapper? I don't know. First, somebody has to come out the closet. Peekaboo.
You want to talk about gay? Talk about gay. Dogging out your homie for what some hoes say. That's gay.
But I saw you kissing me.
You saw him kiss me. While I was tied up. Hello. Think I want his old big, soft, nasty lips on me? Ew. It's nasty.
That scene to me says so much, because at that point it was like, we're both going to agree. And unfortunately, Riley's 8, So a little naive. But it was just like we're both gonna agree to continue on with this lie, and he had it ready though. No matter what, he wasn't letting it go, and he had it ready. So the same way that he approached it with Riley, it was gonna be the same way that he approached it with everybody. Since it was the hot topic.
Yeah. I think Gangstalicious looked at Riley as, I can maintain the illusion, at least with him, and that makes me feel comfortable. Whereas actually admitting this is not something that I am comfortable with yet. So it's like he's basically like saying to Riley, yeah, I don't want to be honest about this, and you're okay with the lie. So we cool. Like,
yeah. And like everybody else is tripping as he lays up in bed with that big, beautiful, black man that he was laying next to.
Right. He had a gorgeous partner, whoever that was.
I know, it looked like it. I mean, yeah. It was a cartoon and all, but yeah, he looked very, very, very strong. Yeah.
Happy.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, it says a lot. I think, and there was no happy ending per se. There was no tragic ending. It was just kind of left open to interpretation, which is what really happens.
Mm-hmm.
So it was.
But Lindsay, I know that you had something you wanted to add about that clip.
Oh yeah, like I interpreted this scene kind of different. It really seriously made me like not teary, but I was a few blinks away. This is probably the most emotional shit I have watched in a long fucking time. I don't really cry over TV, y'all, but it really made me like just feel sad. Like in the first part, we already kind of touched on, like when he's on the radio and he says like, the whole thing about snitching and is kind of not touching on being gay. And then when Riley confronts him directly, he's like, oh, you want to talk about gay? You want to talk about gay? Take the term gay out of it. He's talking about basically like fucking a friend over, like how basically now if we put it in the context of 2021, this nigga has just been outed. That's a big fucking thing. That is so sad. And then to have all of your friends and your colleagues turn their fucking back on you for being your fucking self, that is so fucked up. I am a firm believer that 80% of what is wrong with this world is people, again, othering each other and finding reasons to hate each other. If you go back to the bonus episode, like this whole thing about not getting the pandemic, it is all about people uniting and just accepting each other and working towards the common good. Instead of looking at the divisions of society and finding a reason why you're better than Sale next door or you're better than Sue or whoever because they're gay. Like, so that is heartbreaking in itself. I've dealt with it for most of my career, how we've talked about on the show, code switching and shucking and jiving and having to be someone else in an office setting than you really are because that's the way society is and that's the way corporate is and that's how it goes. So fucking sad. And then the more heartbreaking thing, how I kind of interpreted the scene is that when we see Gangstalicious on the phone and he's kind of saying like it's over, it's like if you're into spirituality and shit, like we say, like, I guess even in English literature, we say it's the dark night of the soul, where kind of like the universe puts you in a spot where you can either be your authentic self or you can continue to kind of keep trying to build your quote unquote tower, house of cards, whatever, and it's going to collapse on you at some point. So when he has this moment of saying it's over, it's like, oh, wow, okay, cool. This man can finally live an authentic life and live in his truth and live in as a gay man with his beautiful gay partner and be that first gay rapper, like how they even put that quote in, will anyone ever accept a gay rapper? Well, someone's got to come out first. This is the way his story could have turned if he would have taken that brave and bold step. But then when confronted by Riley, it's like he realizes I can still live in this lie.
Yeah.
To me, that's how I took it. Like, oh, I can keep this going, not just with Riley. I can keep this going. I can get my way out of this. I can deny it and continue to be Gangstalicious, quote unquote. And so he makes that decision there on the spot and just kind of doubles down on like, I was tied up, I didn't want that. It was forced on me. And in doing that, it is even more sad and fucked up because Riley, as we often forget watching the show, is an 8-year-old child. So you continue to perpetuate the notion that there is something wrong with being your authentic self. There's something wrong with being gay. You're teaching this little nigga like, oh, being gay is wrong. No, that's crazy. I didn't want those nasty, you know what I mean? It's heartbreaking to me, this scene. And I am not an emotional person when it comes to TV and shit, y'all, unless it's like some story time on YouTube of someone, getting kidnapped or some shit like that. Sure. But like TV shows, no. But this shit moved me to my core, and I was just like, I can't.
Yeah, I get it. I hate that I get it.
Very much so.
I do think that, especially with everything that you just said, it really highlights how important having 15 years later, having out celebrities who are so completely comfortable with who they are that they are willing to be the ones out of the closet saying peekaboo and like readying themselves for the shit that's coming in. Like, I know I keep bringing up Lil Nas X, but like I follow him on Twitter and he is constantly calling out and talking back to all of the people who talk trash to him about the stuff that he does. And he's like, I really don't care if you like it. I'm not doing it for you. This is who I am. And I'm very happy that I am able to be who I am with no apologies. And so I'm not going to apologize. And like, that is something that, like you were saying, that could have been what, if this was a real thing happening 15 years ago, that could have been something so groundbreaking for a generation. And instead, it was very realistic, especially of the time. Like, we've gotten to a point now where we are more likely to embrace, as a society, someone who is openly gay or queer in like professional capacity pretty much anywhere. I mean, not 100% because trans people still are fighting just to have basic human rights, basically, and disabled people are still fighting to have basic human rights. But aside from that, I'm actually struggling with pop culture currently because I haven't paid so much attention to it. But like, when I think of successful queer people, especially in like entertainment, I already mentioned Queen Latifah, Tyler the Creator, Lil Nas X I think this is his third #1 single. I'm not entirely sure. I might be wrong on that one. And then Cardi B, who is just putting out single after single about being completely unafraid to be who she is. And like, those are not things that in any way would have been accepted by society 15 years ago. And even though there is a segment of society that's absolutely trying to, quote unquote, cancel them or whatever, they are willing to still just be who they are and not change themselves. And it's actually working. Like, they're not being talked out of it by some handler or some PR person or whatever.
Sure. And I do think there is a thing, though, there too. Like, I don't want to take away from their boldness in any way, shape, or form. And society has changed a lot too.
It's not just like there's bold of it. Yeah.
Right. I mean, like, let's not forget names too, like Debrat. Like, I mean, since I was little, I don't know if she ever spoke about it, but I always knew her to be gay. Missy Elliott. Maybe I'm wrong there. I always knew her. I don't know if she was just bisexual, but I know for sure like that she has had relationships with other women. And I don't think this stuff was secret. Like, even if it wasn't broadcast, or put on the front lines. Like, so I do feel like there are, even when we have these bold actors who are in the front lines, a lot of times there's a lot of names, and I'm sure there's people we've never heard of in the game, in the industry, who were out here doing the thing, you know what I mean? And didn't get that green pass or that golden ticket to succeed in Hollywood for the sheer fact that they were out and proud 15 years ago. And then there's other people who do get let. I'm sure these people are out here, as sad as it is, and they have stories to tell that won't be told. But
is there anything else anyone wants to add about this episode before we get into our next segment?
Oh, I think we're good. I think we covered it.
All right.
Welcome to Stupid White People Questions.
You mean I'm gonna stay this color?
Hi there. How's everybody doing?
Hi.
hello.
Hey. So today's white people question is more of a stupid white people moment. And I got this as I've been doing lately, getting these off of TikTok. This fella, he put a video out of an experience that he had. His name is, on TikTok, he is King Congo. And there will be a link to this in the show notes. But anyway, here's what happened to him.
Story time! Part of my job is to check the structural integrity of buildings that I'm working on. And part of that is getting on top of the roof of buildings that I'm working on. And it's hot as shit, so, as soon as I get to the top of these roofs, sometimes I take my shirt off because I ain't trying to get a farmer tan out of this bitch. Anyway, as I'm working, a little boy, his mother, and who I assume to be his grandmother, started walking down the block. Can't be more than 3 or 4. He looks up, he screams to me, he says, "Wow, you look strong." I look back down and I scream to him, "I'm not as strong as you, bud." Then he turns to his grandmother. Wait for it. He says, "Grandma, look at his muscles." Keep in mind, they're white. This old lady, loud enough so I can hear, says all gorillas have muscles. What's the big deal? What?
So, and I know that was a little hard to hear, but basically he works outside on roofs. He has to go and do check structural integrity and things like that. Kid sees him, tells him that he looks strong. He responds back to the kid, "Not as strong as you." The kid tells the grandma, look at his muscles. The grandma says, "All gorillas have muscles. What's the big deal?" So,
I like my mouth is open. Like because I would have replied with something that would have hurt her entire feelings. And and just like I tell my kids, there's no reason to respond like that. Like, it's better to respond with wit, much like, our example last week. But damn, what do you say to that? Like, and she probably was so pleased with herself. Either expecting him to flash back so that she could have proof behind what her racist thoughts were, or, have something to support it, or, oh my God, like, I don't even know what I don't know. Like that. Wow.
She either doesn't care at all about his feelings, or she doesn't care at all about his feelings and wants to make sure that she hurts them. Like, yeah, he played this for me a few days ago, and I still haven't formed any. I have no response to that, because that's yeah.
I mean, can I just tell her, like, fuck you, old lady? Like, fuck you. Sit on it and spin. Like, that I would have, like, wow. Because I think what's so shocking to me is that what is so wonderful about children is that they're so innocent and they have no hatred until it's instilled in them. And so she's starting that process when the baby was, looking at somebody like he was Superman, like he was Thor or somebody, and then for her to turn around and then just completely reduce him as a human being to a fucking gorilla. Like,
it makes me smile, y'all. It's my favorite kind of racism. It's that Uncle Ruckus racism. I love it. I live for it. I am not even kidding. I love when people say this racist bullshit to me, because I just know, call me arrogant or whatever you want to call me. Like, do you know where I came from? Do you know where I am and what I have? No, you probably don't, but I do. Joke's on you. Call me a gorilla all day. This gorilla lives in a fabulous home, and she has her fabulous own business, and she's doing fabulous shit. thanks to the strength of a lot of strong Black and not other people of races who supported me and taught me all kinds of bullshit all my life. Bitch, you be mad all day. Guess what? Guess what I'm going to do? Guess what I'm going to do? I'm about to go to Starbucks and pay $4 for a fucking latte because I can and I want to. And you're going to be big mad. Is it sad you're teaching your children racism? Absolutely. But, you know, pray for the little boy and hopefully he finds his way out of that. And I'm sure all of us in this conversation have many friends who sit around with us and talk shit about how ignorant their racist ass parents and grandparents are.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll be the legacy you leave with your child unless he too grows up to be a little racist piece of shit, which, hey, whatever. I'm still going to be at Starbucks, you know, buying my overpriced lattes and, you know, marching for Black Lives Matter on the weekend and doing everything my free loving ass can do. How about that? You stay big mad. Want.
There we go. So she said,
what?
I smile, wink, give him the black fist, the black power fist. That's it. That's all there is to say. Bitch, we winning. He does structural integrity. He's winning. What are you, lady? You're going to be dead in 20 years. Womp. Womp. I'm sorry.
5, if not 3. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I've had people check me on this. I'm like, oh, you don't know what you're doing. Don't do that. Don't bait people. I'm not mean. I wouldn't call her a mean old bitch or anything. I just wink and a smile.
All right. Is there anything that you guys want to shout out on this episode that will be coming out right around the 4th of July?
Yeah. It's Monday.
Everybody have a good weekend. I know to most Black people, this is not our, this is not our Independence Day.
Why do you have to be so divisive?
Hey, look, realer than rude, okay? Realer than rude.
I guess MJ doesn't love America.
Right? Totally.
Mary
Go
Jane
back to your
does not
shit,
love
y'all would let me.
America.
No. But just be safe, what everybody's doing. Eat plenty of food. Do, the wobble and the Cupid shuffle a few times. But be safe. Yes.
I mean, we're not doing anything on the actual 4th except for hopefully hunkering down with our dogs and not having anything set on fire around us.
We'll see about that.
Yes. And let's not do that. Everybody put out your fires if you're camping and shit. Come on. Let's not burn
Don't
up
do fireworks in the city.
country.
We just had 120 degrees in Portland, Oregon. Do not start any fires on the West Coast. We do not need red skies this year.
Yeah.
Our air quality is already shit just because of how fucking hot it is.
That. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And we'll be talking next week about how half of California is on fire.
Probably.
No.
Yep.
I'll say that.
Well, I hope that's
no,
not
we're
true,
gonna be good.
But yeah.
We're going to be good.
Alrighty. Well, ladies, I will see you next week. Bye.
Good night. Bye, everybody.
Don't take this the wrong way, but I need you to get the hell up out of here.
Hey, thanks again for joining us as we make our way through the trials and tribulations of the Freeman family. We hope to see you back next week for the hunger strike.
Want to know where to find us on the social medias or where to subscribe to the podcast? Just head right over to www.theboondockspod.com/links.
Have a stupid white people question you want to leave us? Email us at host@theboondockspod.com or leave us a voicemail at 760-933-8636. That's 760-we-3-undo.
Shout out to the artists who've created our intro and outro tunes. Our intro is #Make a Change by KIRK. You can find them on Spotify, iTunes, and Tidal. Our outro is Good Times by Audio Binger. You can find them on freemusicarchive.org and YouTube.